Today, I'm joined by James Miller, the founder of Valiant Home Additions in Northwest Arkansas. James has built more than homes. He's built a reputation for trust in an industry where trust doesn't always come easy. His process is all about creating customized experiences for every homeowner, making sure the journey feels just as good as the finished space. But James's vision doesn't stop there. He's growing Valiant Home as a legacy to pass down to his son, and at the same time preparing for a new chapter in his life, one where he steps away from the job site and steps onto stages, speaking on what it means to be trauma informed and how that shapes the way we build, lead, and live. I'm excited for you to hear his story, not just about construction, but about purpose, family, and the impact he wants to leave behind. James, welcome to the Builder's Edge.
Thank you so much, Deanna. I'm excited to be here. I'm looking forward to this. It's going to be fun.
All right, let's dive right in. James, before we dive into the Valiant part, can you share a bit of your story and what made you start this business back in 2011?
Yeah, I grew up in a single parent home. My father was a shitty contractor. Can I swear here? I'm sorry.
Yeah, you can a little bit.
All right. Well, I'll keep it. So my father was a crappy contractor. He was the guy who took money, took deposits, and then disappeared.
Oh my.
And he left when I was 7. And somehow I fell into the same industry, and I think it was about wanting to do it the right way, and here I am. So had a rough childhood and decided to do something different about it, and here I am.
Well, great. So, and like all the rest of us, it kind of runs in the family. We kind of take it down from handed down. But we usually don't take down handed that aspect of it. So, okay. You shared with me that contractors often aren't trusted like your father. How do you approach that challenge, and what does building trust with your clients look like for you?
Such a great question. Honestly, the first place that starts is by not pretending it doesn't exist, right? In the early
Okay.
days of my career, I would, I like it was in the background. I knew it was there, but I would just talk about how great we were and all this other stuff. And like there was like this compulsion to kind of prove differently, right?
Right.
And now though, I just approach it, and I literally sometimes I'll say to clients, look, I get it. It's freaking scary talking to a contractor. There's crappy ones out there. There's ones that'll take your money. There's drunk ones. Like, I get it. They're terrible. And
Right.
sometimes I was too. I get it. But as I've done this, I've decided that I'm going to be different. And so we do things differently. And please don't rely on me to let that, settle in with you. Because if you don't feel that with us too, then we're not going to be doing business together, because it won't end well. And so
Right.
I'm very direct about it, and I speak very clearly about it. And then I also, one thing I think is very, very important is tell people that how they feel when they're working with a contract actually is super important, way more important than most people realize, I think.
Probably that relationship, because the communication is constantly, you've got to stay communicating with them about the project, what's going on, where it's at in it, and everything, all that. So they have to feel comfortable approaching you. If they want to change anything or whatever's going on, they need to feel that comfort for
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, it's like heck, it's like asking 20 or 30 people to move in with you a day at a time for the next 6 months. Like, that's a big commitment for a client.
Right. So for like an addition or a remodel, and you're going to be in and out of their home all the time. Yeah. In and out of their space. Sometimes you've taken over their kitchen or whatever, and their life is turned upside down.
Yes.
Okay, so you've kind of walked us through that experience with the client, from the very first contact to the final walkthrough. Give me that steps. What makes it feel different with Valiant?
Well, I think some of it starts just with the philosophy and the culture of the company, right? For one thing, we believe in being completely authentic in who we are, in telling people the truth and then letting them decide what to do about it. And that doesn't stop at the beginning. So that might look like we find water damage. We're never going to cover it up. We're going to call them. We're going to have a conversation. We're going to say, look, here's what we recommend. Here's what's important. Here's what you should know about what happens if you don't do this. Here's what happens if you do this. Oh, and by the way, there's a level of our company will not do this, but it will only do this that also factors here, right? So like I might have a client that I point out water damage and they go, I don't want to fix it. Well, as the company now, I get to decide what kind of contractor do I want to be, right?
Right.
And so we, at every step of the process, we are checking in with our clients, communicating often and clearly and effectively as much as we can to make certain that as much as we possibly can be, that we're seeing the same picture, right?
Right.
Because all of everybody sees something a little bit differently.
That's a good
And
point.
right. And
Yeah.
so I've even found like talking about specific items in a project that I have had in the past. I have had some clients that had an entirely different definition of that one term. And so we're having a conversation about this thing, but we're having two different conversations because we don't understand the same terminology. And so
Hmm.
we spend a lot of time helping our clients to understand what are the pros, what are the cons, what makes sense, what do we recommend, what are we willing to do, what are we not willing to do, and then we allow them to make the choice that's right for them.
That's great. Communication, communication. I never thought about people not necessarily, you guys thinking a term means one thing and having that miscommunication just because of the term. I never thought of
Right.
that. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, Deanna, I'm in a current lawsuit that frankly was about terms because the client had a concept of what we were planning to do, what we were certified to do. I was very clear that we were not, and it just never came across.
Wow.
Just,
Oh,
you know what I mean? So clarity, communication, and making sure that everybody understands what you're talking about in the same way, super important.
yeah. Wow. That is pretty important for sure. Okay, I love that you don't just build houses, you build experiences. How do you customize each project so it feels like the client's home and not just another job?
So great question. Number one, like let's say I have a client prospect come to me and they're like, we need a new kitchen, right?
Okay.
The very first thing I do is I don't assume that they need a new kitchen.
Oh, okay.
I assume that they have a challenge in their family that they're trying to solve for,
Uh-huh.
right? And so I will literally say to that client, awesome, let's talk about that. Let's talk about the challenges in your family that we're solving for. What are we trying to solve for? What are we trying to fix? What are we trying to not have happen again, right? And
Great. Yeah.
we might still end up building them a kitchen, but not until that we know that a kitchen is what's going to actually solve their problem,
Good.
right? And I have had projects where it might have actually been a utility room that was the challenge, but the way it was flowing, they made it seem like the kitchen, right? There's other things like that. And so
Huh.
I work very, very hard to understand in what ways the client's home works for them and in what ways it doesn't, so that because the ultimate goal for us is that when you walk into your house, that should be the place where you get to put down the world and you just get to be at peace.
Right.
So my target is to make that home fit that client as effectively as it possibly can so that when they walk in there, they get to set down the weight of the world.
If you do a kitchen and you use the same footprint, you may not and a bit more solve their problem than anything, Yeah, they
Right.
might just hate it just as bad as when they first started. So find out what's working and what's not working. Kind of like I do when clients come to me for their marketing and their digital systems, like what in your business is working, what's not working. Same with you, what in your home's working and what's not working.
Right. And I don't know specifically what you do, right? But let's just say it's website. If I come to you and I say, I need a website. I might need a website, but what I might actually need is that my website actually isn't driving leads to me or something, right? Or it's not being
Absolutely.
seen or whatever else. And so I think, I mean, the bottom line is this: the way that the economy in the US works is the bigger the problem you solve, the more money you make. And so if we can figure out what problems we're solving for first, then we automatically have a higher likelihood of closing that project because we're helping the client to live the life that they want, not just have a room.
Oh, absolutely. I agree. So you've talked about building Valiant not just for today, but with a long-term vision of passing it on to your son. What does that mean to you as a builder, but also a dad?
The passing it down to my son, when I started this company, that was never the intention. In fact, I intended to sell this company.
Uh-huh.
As we started working together and Andrew came on board, my daughter is also part of the company, as is my almost ex-wife. It's a family company. It just is.
Uh-huh.
And so it means a lot. And throughout, I have been very, very, very clear with him in all of the ways that if there's ever a moment where it doesn't work for him, our relationship as father and son is far beyond anything to do with this company.
Way more
And
important,
and
right?
so like, is it going that way? That is our intention. And it might not, and that'll be okay too, because first and foremost for me is that relationship with my children. The business can go away. That's
Right.
important.
Yeah. So how do you involve him and how do you envision this transition happening someday?
Well, so I mean, he started in the field, just summer job, and worked through high school and college, and then I had a high level employee, was my right hand guy, and several years ago he came to me and he said, "I really think you need to think about putting your son into leadership." And frankly, that kind of caught me off guard because he's always kind of had a different. He went into a different field.
Your son?
Right. Yeah,
Okay.
he's got a degree in graphic design. But we had conversations, and I went to him and I said, "Hey, I think there might be an opportunity for you here." We took some time to make sure it was the right. And basically, what it's become really is, number one, recognizing that my son has different skills, different life experiences, and everything else as me. There is no way he is going to run this company like I did, and that's a good thing. I want it to have his stamp on it. In fact, I truly believe that Valiant will feel, act, and be different under Andrew's leadership than under mine.
Mm,
And that's okay, right?
yeah.
So the legacy that I want to leave for him, honestly, is the plan is to leave him a business that is solid, that is stable, that has a reputation, so that he can not worry about whether he's going to get his next paycheck or not. He can worry about creating the greatness in the world through this company that he wants to create.
The same as we do when we are preparing our business for a sale. Uh,
Yes.
yeah, you had spoke to me the other day about how you had been in some intensive training about that. Share a little bit about that.
Yeah, that was actually that man. That was an eye opener actually, because as part of my story is I helped coach contractors for several years in how to run good businesses. As part of that, I attended a lot of different conferences. This one as staff, but I actually was able to attend this half day work session. And it was a guy who specializes in selling small businesses, and it was a real eye opener because he actually shared that if you're going to sell your business to an outside buyer versus hand it off to an internal, whoever that is, whether it's family or employee ownership, whatever,
Uh-huh.
that the the strategy to do that is different, and the tax implications are different. And
Oh,
he actually gave us an example where he pulled the same business, the same price point, like the transaction was the same, right?
identical. Yes.
One went to an outside buyer and one was handed to a family member. The one that was handed to the family member had like $1.5 million worth of higher tax liability as opposed to the other. And so there are actually, believe it or not, there are bookkeeping things that need to be different Not only that, he said that you can work on one strategy, it's totally fine. Work to sell it to an outside source. But if you change, it takes 5 years to actually make the systemic changes inside of your company with the finances and how all that flows to then be able to use the other strategy in a way that's not harmful to the buyer and the seller.
Wow.
So it was, I mean, I am by no means an expert, but what I will say is this, they are completely different strategies, and it 100% changed how we operate so that
Yeah.
I'm helping Andrew, not handing him a golden chain.
Oh, and that's what you want to do to family. You don't want to hand them a chain around their ankle for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, you've also mentioned that your next chapter is stepping away from this business and moving into speaking on trauma-informed topics. For those who may not know, how does trauma-informed, what does that mean to you?
So, number one, we live in a society where finally conversations are happening around trauma. Now,
Okay.
there's some challenges with that, right? Because we can start to get to a part where we just use the trauma as an excuse. But to me, what trauma informed means is I have done enough internal work, enough external work, and have done enough training in different modalities and everything else that I understand not only at an intellectual level, but at a systemic level, I understand what trauma, the impact that trauma has on people in ways that they don't even understand. And so that might look like the contractor who's putting together a quote and they told the client it was going to be 25 grand, and then they do the math and it turns out it's 27 grand, right? So someone who's just normal might go, oh crap, well, it was 27 grand. I guess we tell them it's 27 grand. Where a guy that's, or a person, a human that's been traumatized and has wounds around those areas might go, well, shit, I guess I got to not get 2 grand so that I can sell it for the price I promised, right? And so having that basis and background when I work with people, it helps me to understand the underlying motivators for behaviors that don't serve them well and that are self-sabotaging. And I was the championist self-sabotage.
Okay, that's where your training came in.
Yes.
Okay. Well, how do your experiences as a builder and someone who's worked closely with families connected with your calling? How does that connect?
One of the things that I love about what we do is that we're able to help families imagine a future that's different than the one that they thought they were locked into, right?
Right.
And I think that's sort of thematically what this is, right?
Okay.
We get to create it how we want it.
Okay.
And for the record, this is one of those squirrel moments of heaven because I lost the train of thought here.
That's
Uh,
okay.
so I'm not quite sure where I'm going. I think I'll just stop and let you recollect us.
Okay. So, what is the message that you most want to bring to people when you speak about this trauma informed?
That is an easy one. There's always hope, no matter how bleak it sounds, no matter how whatever. And to be quite frank, reality wasn't isn't what we think it is.
We
And I
do
know that
make up
sounds
some
goofy
crazy
as hell,
stories,
but
don't
but
we?
if you can get yourself to the point where you don't believe everything you think, nor do you believe everything you see as absolute fact, and you recognize that maybe there could be another thing, then it gives you the option to think to allow hope to enter and create new possibilities.
Eye-opening, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So, if you're a homeowner that's listening right now and maybe that you're a little nervous about hiring a contractor, what's the one thing that you would want them to know about working with you?
Trust your gut. And to be honest, Deanna, that's whether they're trying to work with me or if it's a listener that's never going to work with us that's talking to a different contractor. Trust your gut. I think homeowners put way, way, way too much weight and importance on what's the cost, what's the ROI, and they forget what's the return on the lifestyle, and they forget that they're going on an extended date with the contractor for a very,
That's a
very,
good way to
very
put
long
it.
time. And they darn well better feel safe and comfortable
Yeah.
with that person in their home. And I mean this, like if you're a homeowner and you've got a contractor in your house and you just like in your body it feels wrong, something is. And it doesn't mean they're a bad person or a bad contractor. It just means that for whatever reason there's something not right for you.
Right.
And
Something's
that's okay.
okay. And for people who want to follow your journey, whether it's your building projects or your future speaking, where's the best place for them to connect with you?
Best possible places on Facebook through our company, Valiant Home Additions, big blue V logo, you'll see it. And through that, you can find me in all the other places I am.
Wonderful. Okay, James, I really appreciate the way you're building trust and creating that customized experience for your clients. That's exactly how I approach my business too. A lot of the contractors and trades I work with struggle with visibility and marketing systems, and that's where my team steps in. So if you ever come across another builder or business owner who's frustrated about not getting the work, not being seen first and called first, I'd love for you to connect us and send them my way.
Totally.
Great. So here's my challenge to you, listeners. After listening to James' story, take one step this week to build more trust with your clients. Very important. Maybe it's being more transparent about your process. Maybe it's asking better questions to customize that experience. Or maybe it's just following up sooner than they expected. Small actions like that are what sets you apart and create the kind of long-term reputation that James has. James, thank you again for sharing not just how you build homes, but how you build relationships and a legacy. That's what the Builder's Edge is all about. And to all the listeners, remember, it's not always the big moves that change your business. It's the consistent, intentional steps you take every day. Put one of James' insights into practice this week and see the difference it makes. And until next time, keep building with purpose.